There's a truth no one ever told you, brother. The reason she'll always remember you isn't emotional, it's psychological. And she never expected the silence to reveal it. Because silence, unlike arguments or closure, exposes everything. It strips away the story she built after she left, the narrative she stitched together to protect her pride. And once the noise fades, she's forced to face the one thing she never wanted to see. You were the mirror she avoided, the reflection that made her confront who she was and who she wasn't ready to become. Most men think women forget them quickly, but that's only the illusion she performs for the world. What she presents publicly is confidence. What she meets privately is the unraveling. Without your presence regulating her storms, grounding her emotions, softening her chaos, the silence becomes a spotlight, and truth comes alive under light. She expected freedom, she expected clarity, but instead she walked straight into herself. And that's the real reason she'll always remember you. You weren't just a chapter in her life, you were the mirror that shaped her identity. And when that mirror disappears, she doesn't lose you. She loses the version of herself she only accessed through you. Before we go deeper, like this video, subscribe to Stoic Station, and start this journey now. And tell me, brother, drop a 1 if you're still living inside her story, or a 2 if you're finally ready to live in your truth. Because what happens next is the fracture she never saw coming. The moment her story begins collapsing under the weight of silence. Let's dive in. 1. The story she created can't survive the silence. Brother, the real reason she'll always remember you isn't found in the words you spoke or the moments you shared. It's because every story she told herself about who you were begins to unravel the moment your silence enters her world. When a woman walks away, she rarely leaves with truth. She leaves with a narrative, a version of events sculpted to protect her pride. In her story, you were the wrong man. She was the strong one. The breakup made perfect sense. But what breaks a woman isn't the separation itself. It's the moment her story stops matching the truth she feels in her body. In the beginning, she repeats her script with confidence. She tells her friends she wasn't happy. She tells her family she needed something else. She tells herself she outgrew you. And she clings to these lines the way a drowning person clings to air, not because they're true, but because they keep her from facing what she isn't ready to feel. Yet human psychology does not bend under fiction forever. Silence exposes what noise hides. Stillness reveals what movement once distracted her from, and in that stillness, something begins to shift inside her. She stops remembering the story and starts remembering the reality. Your patience, your consistency, your emotional steadiness, the kind of stability a woman feels before she ever understands it. That's when the pain begins entering her like a slow and quiet poison. Her heart remembers what her pride tries to forget. Her nervous system remembers the safety she only felt with you. Biologically, women imprint on emotional stability, and that imprint does not fade. You didn't just love her, you regulated her. You calmed storms she never learned to name, and now she must face a truth she never prepared for. The story she crafted cannot erase the man you truly were. What she remembers is not the breakup. It's the calm, the grounding, the steadiness she once took for granted. That's why the Stoics taught, what stands the test of silence is what is real. And as that silence grows, so does the space where your presence used to live, pulling her inevitably toward the next stage, the freedom she once celebrated, before it slowly begins to hollow her out. 2. The freedom that sparkles, before it breaks her. Brother, the moment she looked the happiest after leaving you, the new clothes, the brighter smile, the sudden burst of energy, was the exact moment the emptiness had already begun forming behind her expression. What you saw online wasn't healing. It was adrenaline. A temporary spark disguised as confidence. A survival mechanism dressed up as moving on. And like all manufactured confidence, It burns fast and dies quietly. Women often confuse escape with growth, mistaking the thrill of leaving for the clarity of evolving. In the beginning, stepping out of a relationship feels like stepping out of a dark room into harsh daylight. There's a moment where everything feels brighter, lighter, liberating. But as with any sudden light, the eyes eventually adjust, and what once felt warm becomes blinding. Her new freedom can't stand on its own. It needs constant fuel, new photos to prove she's thriving, new places to avoid sitting still, new attention to drown out the truth she isn't ready to face. Because the one thing she cannot confront, not yet, is the silence where your stability once lived. Women rarely fear being alone in public. They fear being alone with themselves in private. And this is exactly when the truth hits her with a quiet force. Late at night, when the performance ends and the world grows still, your absence is no longer an idea. It becomes a sensation tightening in her chest. Her body feels the drop in emotional safety. Her nervous system remembers the difference between being admired and being understood. A woman can fake confidence for an audience, but she cannot fake inner peace when the curtain falls. You gave her that peace, even if she couldn't name it at the time. She didn't understand how rare it was, how few men offer grounding instead of chaos, steadiness instead of noise. And this, brother, is why she'll always remember you. Her freedom never felt like real freedom. It felt like distance from the one person who made her feel settled in her own skin. That glitter she posted online was never proof of her rising. It was proof of her running. So she reaches for the quickest substitute she can find, attention. The kind that's easy, immediate, and as fleeting as the illusion she's trying to maintain. And it's in that chase for validation that the next truth quietly unfolds. The moment attention tries to imitate connection and inevitably fails. 3. When attention pretends to replace you. Brother, there's a reason she couldn't replace you. Attention can stroke her ego, but only you touch the deeper parts of her she rarely shows the world. After a breakup, most women fall into the same psychological trap. They chase validation instead of connection. Her phone lights up. Messages pour in. Compliments fall at her feet. Men position themselves like they're offering something meaningful, but not one of them actually sees her, not in the way you did, not with the depth she quietly craves. In the beginning, she buys into the illusion. New attention feels like a reward, a confirmation that she made the right choice. It feels like proof that she's desirable, wanted, admired. But the feminine heart is not built to thrive on novelty. It's built to bond through emotional attunement. Biologically, women connect to the men who understand them, not the men who simply notice them. And the further she goes into this pool of shallow admiration, the more she begins to feel what she refused to acknowledge. Admiration is not connection. That's where the conflict begins to take shape. These new men don't know her rhythms. They don't understand the difference between her silence and her withdrawal. They can't detect the subtle tremor in her voice that you recognized instantly. They don't feel her unspoken anxieties, the ones you instinctively soothed without ever being told. You weren't just present, you were attuned. That kind of presence is rare, nearly impossible to replace. And because she didn't understand its value then, she is forced to face it now. Slowly the cracks begin to form. The compliments start sounding generic. The dates feel repetitive, like recycled moments. The conversations feel scripted, lacking the softness she only revealed with you. Her smile doesn't reach as far. Her laughter doesn't land the same. She doesn't want to admit it, not to her friends, not to her family, not even to herself. But she feels it in the quiet moments. Attention is cheap, connection is priceless, and she walked away from the one man who offered her depth instead of dopamine. And this, brother, is why you remain in her memory. Because every new man she meets reminds her, without ever trying, of what she no longer has. The more faces she entertains, the clearer the truth becomes. New faces don't replace you, they reveal you. And that revelation is what leads her into the next, even harder realization, the moment new faces begin to expose everything she lost. 4. When new faces remind her of you. Brother, she never truly understood that you were irreplaceable until she tried to replace you, and every man she met ended up showing her a different version of what she lost. She expected other men to feel the same, to smile the same, to care the same, to stand with the same steadiness you carried so naturally. But comparison is a mirror she cannot control, and once that mirror is placed in front of her, it reflects a truth she can't hide from. Not one of them measures up to the emotional imprint you left on her. Memory doesn't work logically, it works emotionally. And every emotional memory she holds is tied not to the excitement or chemistry, but to the safety she felt with you. Safety is what women bond to. Safety is what lingers long after passion fades and novelty dries out. With you, she didn't just feel wanted, she felt understood, settled, grounded. That kind of connection doesn't disappear when a relationship ends. It becomes the standard she unconsciously holds every new man against. And that is where the conflict silently begins. A new man laughs, but something is missing. He speaks, but the tone lacks the warmth she remembers. He looks at her, but there's no depth, no attunement, no unspoken understanding behind the eyes. Nothing is wrong with these men. They're simply not you. They don't know her emotional rhythms. They don't feel the shifts in her energy. They don't sense her hesitations the way you instinctively did. And because of that, every interaction feels thin, almost hollow, like a copy missing its original texture. Slowly, the realization grows inside her. Why doesn't she feel calm around them? Why does her chest tighten instead of soften? Why does she feel guarded when she used to feel open? Because you weren't just someone she dated. You were her emotional anchor, and anchors only feel heavy once they're gone. Her body knows what her ego resists admitting. He was the exception, not the rule. That whisper becomes louder with each new face, each forced smile, each connection that never reaches the depth she once took for granted. This is why she'll always remember you. You weren't special in a way that disappears with time. You were special in a way that contrasts, deeply, unmistakably, painfully. And contrast is the beginning of regret, the kind that grows louder when the noise fades, and the cracks inside her finally begin to speak. 5. When the noise fades and regret speaks. What breaks her isn't losing you. It's realizing she never understood what she had while she had it. For a while, distraction protected her from that truth. She filled her days with new routines, new faces, new activities, anything that could drown out the echo of what she walked away from. But distraction has an expiration date. Eventually, the stimulation slows, the novelty fades, and the noise that once shielded her begins to thin until she's left alone with the one thing she tried hardest to avoid, herself. Her days become repetitive, almost mechanical. Her nights grow louder, not with sound, but with thoughts she can no longer outrun. Her mind revisits questions she never asked when you were still in her life. And she starts noticing the absence in ways she never anticipated. No one checks on her the way you did. No one listens with the same patience. No one protects her peace the way you did without needing recognition or reward. It's in this steady, unsettling quiet that something terrifying begins to happen. She starts replaying memories she thought she had buried for good. But she doesn't replay the arguments or the tension. What returns to her are the soft things. The way your presence changed the room. The way her world felt calmer around you. The way you grounded her without saying much at all. Those memories feel heavier now, not because they hurt, but because they reveal a truth she spent months trying not to see. Emotional stability wasn't something she found easily. It was something she once had and let slip through her fingers. That's where the panic begins to settle inside her. What if she ruined something she can't rebuild? What if you were the right man and she wasn't ready to receive the love you gave so freely? What if she walked away from the one place she truly felt safe? These aren't just passing thoughts. They become the drumbeat of her regret, growing louder with every quiet evening, every disappointing new connection, every reminder that you're no longer accessible in the way you once were. And this is the stage she can never escape from. The realization that you weren't just part of her past. You were the standard, the stability, the calm, the emotional grounding she now searches for without knowing how to find it again. And the more she tries to deny this truth, the more it consumes her, pulling her straight into the next unavoidable stage, the war between the fantasy she created and the consequences she now has to live with. 6. When fantasy collides with consequence. She expected to walk into a better life without you. Instead, she walked into a life she doesn't even recognize. That's the part no one warns her about. Her fantasy told her that leaving you would fix everything, that freedom would feel like oxygen, that excitement would replace stability, and clarity would bloom the moment she stepped away. But fantasies make promises reality never signs off on, and consequences speak a far harsher, more undeniable language. At first she tries to live inside the world her imagination built for her, a world where she's glowing, thriving, evolving. But real life has a way of cracking illusions in the smallest, quietest moments. A song plays in a cafe, the same one you once laughed about. A familiar scent drifts past her, the one that used to cling to your jackets. A location you visited together pops up on her feed without warning, and each tiny reminder pulls her out of the fantasy she's been protecting and back into a truth she has been desperately trying not to feel. Her mind immediately goes into defense mode. He wasn't right for me. I made the best choice. I'm fine. She repeats these lines like a mantra, hoping repetition will turn them into reality. But the body never lies. Her nervous system remembers the steadiness you provided. Her emotions remember the warmth you carried effortlessly. Her heart remembers your consistency, not as something ordinary, but as something foundational. These weren't small traits. They were the architecture of emotional safety, the one thing she never learned how to replace. And now she's caught in the quietest yet most brutal war a woman can face. The war between what her ego wants to believe and what her truth refuses to forget. Her fantasy promised her a better life. Her biology drags her back to the safety she once felt with you. Her pride insists she's fine. Her heart trembles with the weight of what she lost. This is the essence of cognitive dissonance, the collision of two realities she can no longer hold at the same time. And the more she tries to sustain the fantasy, the more energy it drains from her, because living a lie always costs more than facing the truth. This is why she'll always remember you. Her fantasy fades because fantasies always do. But your reality stays quiet, grounded, undeniable. You were real in a way her imagination never could be. And real always outlasts temporary illusions. And soon she reaches the moment she feared the most, the moment she sees you again, not as the man she left behind, but as the man you became, the man she never imagined she'd lose, the man she never thought she'd have to live without. 7. When your rise becomes her reckoning. Brother, nothing haunts a woman more than realizing the man she walked away from became exactly the man she always dreamed of, but no longer has the right to stand beside. That truth lands heavier than heartbreak, heavier than loneliness, heavier than any illusion she clung to when she left. Because she didn't expect your rise, she expected your ruin. In her mind, you were supposed to crumble. You were supposed to stay lost, stay wounded, stay orbiting the memory of her. She imagined you checking your phone, replaying old messages, whispering "what if" into the dark. But that's not what good men do. Good men rebuild. And as you healed, you didn't merely move forward, you transformed. Your posture shifted into strength. Your eyes held a calmer focus. Your voice settled into a grounded certainty. Your life became more intentional, more disciplined, more aligned. You found yourself again, and whether she admits it or not, she feels it in her bones. And this is where her regret becomes permanent, not just because she misses you, but because she misses the version of herself that only existed beside a man like you. The woman she was when she felt safe, the softness she had when she felt understood, the peace she carried when you stood beside her. Now she doesn't just lose you, she loses the emotional home you built for her without ever saying the word home. That truth strikes her with the force of reality. You didn't collapse, you ascended. You didn't chase her, you conquered yourself. You outgrew the small world she kept you trapped in, the one built on her validation, her approval, her attention, and now she knows, deeply, painfully, irrevocably, that she no longer has access to the man you've become. That is a wound that does not heal, because there is no remedy for losing a man you underestimated until it was too late. This is the deepest reason she will always remember you, not because you stayed, not because you waited, not because you hoped, but because you rose, because Stoic wisdom proves itself true in your journey. The man who conquers himself becomes unforgettable. And brother, you didn't just conquer heartbreak. You conquered the version of yourself that once believed losing her would destroy you. And now, with nowhere left to run, she must confront her final truth. The freedom she once celebrated has become the silence she fears most. 8. When freedom turns into silence. She thought leaving you would finally set her free. Free to grow, free to breathe, free to become the woman she imagined in her mind. But instead it left her alone with the one voice she can't escape. Her own. That's the quiet twist no one prepares her for. The apartment that once felt too small for her dreams now feels too big for her peace. The nights stretch out longer than she expected. Even the meals taste different, not because the food changed, but because the meaning behind them did. Freedom stops feeling like liberation and starts feeling like isolation. She once believed she was walking toward something better, toward a brighter future, a new identity, a more fulfilling life. But now she realizes the truth she avoided for months. She didn't walk toward anything. She walked away from something real, something steady, something she only understood once it was gone. The bed is colder now. The mornings are heavier. Her routines feel like empty rituals. The silence inside her home isn't peaceful, it's accusatory, because silence does what noise never can. It reveals what was holding her together all along. Your presence, your steadiness, your emotional gravity filled her world in ways she never noticed. It anchored her. It softened her restlessness. It gave her a sense of safety so natural she mistook it for normal. And only when the world went quiet did she finally understand how much of her peace was actually your influence. This is the part that breaks her slowly, relentlessly. She didn't lose you by accident. She lost you by choice. And choices echo. They echo in the empty side of the bed. They echo in the mornings when she wakes up alone. They echo in the afternoons when no one checks on her. They echo in the evenings when the silence settles like dust on all the things she thought she wanted. That echo becomes a companion she never invited, reminding her that she traded depth for distance, security for novelty, a good man for a temporary feeling. And this is why she'll always remember you, not because you haunt her, but because the contrast between the life she imagined and the reality she created follows her everywhere. Every moment of silence becomes a mirror reflecting the truth she cannot rewrite. She had something rare, something grounding, something real. She let it go. And you became the man she will compare every future connection to. Often without meaning to, always without escaping. And that leads her into the final truth, the one she can't protect herself from. She lost a good man, and he outgrew her. 9. The final reason: you became the man she can never forget. Brother, she remembers you because losing you forced her to meet a version of herself she can barely live with. That's the truth she'll never admit, not to her friends, not to her family, not even to the mirror she avoids on the nights she feels the weight of her choices. She thought you'd wait. She thought you'd stay. She thought the comfort of your love would always be available when she needed it again. But heartbreak didn't break you. It reforged you. It stripped away the parts of you that were built around pleasing her, and it revealed the man you were always meant to become. And as you rose, something irreversible happened. You stepped into a different version of yourself, sharper in your focus, grounded in your values, quiet in your confidence, and far more intentional in your life. You rose into a man she once dreamed of, but was never prepared to stand beside. Your growth didn't just change your path. It closed a door she can never reopen. She now sees you clearly, sometimes from afar, sometimes in passing, sometimes through the online windows where she watches without saying a word, focused, grounded, self-possessed, calm in a way that cannot be faked. These qualities don't just attract her, they expose her. They reveal the gap between who she thought she was and who she truly is without you. And that's where the agony lives, in the realization that your growth didn't punish her, it outpaced her. You became a man who no longer needs her validation, her presence, her affection, or her approval. She must live with the truth she never prepared for. You were the good man she didn't understand, the safe place she didn't value, the stability she wasn't ready for. A woman never forgets the man who loved her deeply, nor the man she destroyed, nor the man who rose from the ashes she created. And brother, you rose. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in alignment with who you were always capable of becoming. This is the real reason she will always remember you. It's not nostalgia. It's not romantic longing. It's the shock of witnessing a man transform into everything she hoped he would be. After she no longer had a place in his life, you became unforgettable by becoming unshakable. You became the living proof of a Stoic truth she never understood until it was too late. Do not chase, become. And that is exactly what you did. While she stayed the same, you evolved. While she ran from herself, you met yourself. While she lost her balance, you found your center. And now she carries the one burden she can never set down, the knowledge that she once had access to the man you are today, and she will never have it again. Brother, let this truth settle into the deepest part of you. Heartbreak didn't undo you, it revealed you. The pain you thought would shatter you instead pushed you inward, stripped away the noise, and brought you face to face with the man you were always meant to become. While she carries the quiet ache of what she let slip through her fingers, you carry something far more powerful, the strength of a man who rebuilt himself in silence, who stood back up without applause, who discovered his worth without needing anyone to validate it. That is her reality now, the weight of a loss she created. And this grounded, unshakable, evolved version of you, that is your reality. That is what your future now stands on. So walk forward with calm certainty, not to prove anything to her, but to honor the transformation that came from surviving what was meant to break you. Brother, if something in this message touched a part of you you've been avoiding, remember this. She might forget the small details of your past, the conversations, the confusion, the emotional chaos. But she will never forget the man you became once life tested your heart. She'll remember the resilience, the clarity, the rise. And from here forward, your path is no longer about her. It's about becoming the strongest, most centered version of yourself, the man you now know you can be. If you're ready to keep walking this journey with Stoic Station, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a lesson that can shift the direction of your life. Now, brother, I'll leave you with one question. One only men who've lived through the fire can answer. What is the one thing in you that changed forever, the day she left? Drop your answer in the comments, not to relive the pain, but to remind every man watching that he isn't walking this path alone. And never forget, you're not just healing, you're rising.